So we're reading through the novel, we're talking about the nature of reality, right? I'm taking a moment to drink my wine. The truth is that I am very boisterous, right? That I have a great fire in me, right? And of course, I should have been an actor from the time that I was 12. Right? This is obvious, right? That I am everything, right? So, what does this have to do with the movie Critic, right? The novel spans from May of 2021 through February of 2025, right? As well as the fact that Trey Anastasio, right? I wrote him to help us reconcile, and Quentin has obviously slandered me to him, right? And it's talked about in greater detail in a different video, right? And I invite anyone to watch it. It's all there, right? That Quentin plays these bullshit subtle games, right? And in so doing, right, he swallowed Trey Anastasio as well, right? So what does he do? You know, like what am I talking about? That there is no atheistic origin to life. That's what I'm saying, right? Inevitably, there's a line in the sand, right? That you have to decide what you believe the world to be structured by. That there is no, right? So you can say, right, and I've known and met learned people who say this, and it's equally valid intellectually, right? That there is no intellectual origin to life, right? That life was built arbitrarily through a haphazard convocation of elements, which inevitably led to humanity, to man, right? And so what I'm saying is that's a shallow, hollow intellectual position, right? That is, right? That has no weight, it has no authority, right? And I can show you why that is a logical fallacy, right? That life has a latent intellect within it, diffused within every cubic centimeter of space, right? And so how do I know this, right? This is the physics of the holographic model, Pribram and Bohm, right? This is not some new age guy saying, oh, meditate and be closer to God, right? Like this is established reductionist materialistic scientists, right? Espousing a potential for how the world is structured. And what they have to say is that within every cubic centimeter of space, in terms of information, lies the potential for all manifested reality. Right? This is the holographic model, right? And so what I am saying right now is that is true, right? How big is the universe, right? Is it 100 billion light years wide? Is it 1 inch wide? Is irrelevant, right? Like that has no bearing here. There's scale reference, right? There is no scale in the universe, right? That all our measurements derive from our ignorance. That's it, right? What I'm saying is that there is this condition, which is reality, right? That there is this thing that we experience, right? And embedded within every single cubic centimeter of that condition, in terms of information, lies the potential for everything that can be manifested within that specific condition. And so diffused throughout that, right, is a non-local conscious field. And so what do I mean when I say that? I mean that when Plato espouses his allegory of the cave, he's referring to things like this, right? That embedded abstractly within all of space, right, that's a nice view, right, is this infinitely nested lattice, geometric, archetypal, abstract lattice, right, which acts as a subatomic subspatial scaffolding for the manifested world, right, to grow and evolve around, right? And so the conscious field, right, is distributed evenly throughout all of it, right? And it pushes its knowing through the abstraction, right, which is reflected in the material world as a pressure condition, right? So the conscious field, the divine light of deity, pushes its knowing through the subspatial abstract geometric origin and the dihedral, right, the angle with which it imposes its divinity upon the divine abstraction, right, mutates it, or the combination of dihedrals, right, from multiple angles, right, the Sefer Yetzirah, right, there's 6 directions in which the Lord breathed, right, so there's an infinite convocation of potential directions with which the conscious field may impinge upon this infinite subatomic lattice of structure, right? And the specific arrangement of the dihedrals, right, transmutes it, right, and mutates it, engendering electric resistance, right, which ejaculates, right? It's a cosmic ejaculate, which creates a cosmic shadow, right? A material manifested shadow of its divine abstract archetype, right? That this is, I know pornography, I used ejaculate, like how funny, right? But what I'm saying is that it puts pressure upon it and causes it to collapse and mutate out of its static perfection, right? And so as it continues to collapse through the varying dihedral angles, right, imposing the pressure of the divine light upon it, right, eventually the electric resistance becomes so great that it must erupt into the material world as a manifested crepuscular condition. First as light, and then as the pressure continues, it becomes more sophisticated, advanced organic matter, and then inevitably complex cellular structure, and inevitably life, right? Complex cellular life, right? So this is the point, right? This is the other side of the argument, right? And so my point in mentioning all this, like what does this have to do with the movie Critic? Like what are you talking about right now? Is that all instances of clairvoyance, psychic phenomenon, all derive from the mind of man tapping into that non-locality, right? And so if you take this, right? If you take my celestial vision board, right? And you say, okay, all of these things, right? Even the self-portrait, right? That all of these are psychic intellectual relays, right? That it's a rebounding, right, of the hologram, right? That embedded within every cubic centimeter of space, however big it is, doesn't matter, that's irrelevant, right? Is the infinite potential, or not infinite, seemingly infinite, is the potential to express all of manifested reality, right? And so they're all of these things are nested inside of each other, right? And so we make these things, right? I make this thing as well, right? Because our intellect, right, is stifled by being apart. Right? That God has all of these nested inside of every cubic centimeter of space, right? God, which is the intellectual principle, which exerts pressure upon all of these, right? Which causes them to manifest into what we see as the measurable universe, right? That's the other argument, right? And so instances of clairvoyance, instances of remote viewing, right? All tap into this knowing. Right? Is this what Quentin does, right? When he watches me, when he watches people? No. I suspect no one else does anything of the kind, though I could cite a few people that perhaps come close, right? So we got 5 gold mean spirals, right? Dodeca inside of Icosa, right? A division of 18, 2 9s inside of each other. My point is that these things have nothing to do with New Age bullshit, right? That I mentioned this in another video, that this is intimately connected with chemical geometric structuring, right? That these are all spiritual lenses, right? And when you meditate on them specifically, right, that you liberate your mind out of the confusion of God's omniscience, right? That God has all of these nested inside of his mind constantly in every cubic centimeter of space, right? But it is incumbent upon man to isolate, right? God pushes its knowing through the all and manifests the thing. Man must push his knowing through the thing to experience all, right? And so this is what remote viewers do, right? This is what clairvoyants do, right? That they're looking through a thing and seeing the eternity within it, right? And so Quentin stares through my headshot, closes his eyes in meditation, and tortures me as much or as little as he wants, and has his cabal of sorcerers that does the same thing, right? And so the only question now, right, and I'm going to stop because I've been going for another 30 minutes, is there such a thing as psychic clairvoyance? You know, like, is there such a thing as remote viewing? Right? Is there such a thing as telepathy? Right? And the answer is unequivocally yes. There's nothing else to consider there. This is old world data, right? And I've emailed like all of them, you know, there's like at least half a dozen really famous psychics, right, who have real pedigree, right, that this is not, right? And so what I'm saying is that the mind is the origin of all life, right? And when you understand that, right, this is when you call yourself an adept, right? This is when you call yourself a master, the maestro, right? And so when you understand that, right, you can push your mind, right, through non-locality or through quantum entanglement, right? You can connect your conscious awareness, right, to any other locale, right? And so what do I mean when I say that? I mean that there's carbon inside of your body, right? That there is some however much percentage carbon inside of your brain and your body, right? And so all of these atoms inside of your body have electrons that are orbiting around it, right? That are behaving, right? I don't like the word orbit. That's a little too specific. But you have an atomic structure within your body that is behaving a specific way. But all atomic structure, right, is linked to the non-local conscious field, which is evenly distributed throughout all of space, right? And so instances of telepathy, instances of clairvoyance, right, is the meditation on a locale distinct from your locale, wherein you harmonize the atomic structure of the physical material that resides at the other locale. That's what I'm saying, right? And then you're through the lens of your consciousness, right, which is meditation, right, you bring in the vision, right? What Ralph Waldo Emerson, from some alien shore the visions come. Right? That's what's actually occurring, right? This is how Quentin finds me. This is how I find Quentin. This is how anyone can find anyone. Is this a fucking light switch? No, of course not, right? That these are powerful spiritual disciplines which require years of devotion to unlock, right? This is not something that just anyone can do. However, the two of us can do it very well. Right? And so it's descended into this disgusting thing, right? And so I leave you, right, with Hamlet. So long! Nay, then let the devil wear black, for I'll have a suit of sables. Oh, heavens! Gone 2 months and not forgotten yet. Why, then there's hope a great man's memory may outlive his life. Half a year? But by a lady he must build churches then. Or else he shall suffer not thinking on with the hobby horse, whose epitaph is for oh, the hobby horse is forgot. God bless. See what's good in your life. Uplift your soul to God. Pray for me. Pray for Quentin. Right? Like, comment, subscribe, share. God bless.